Welcome to PropTech Pulse, the podcast that takes the pulse of prop technology in multifamily. I'm your host, Shelly Robinson, and each week we'll be diving deep into innovations, challenges, and the future of work in property technology and multifamily. From AI-driven property management to blockchain and real estate, we're here to explore how technology is reshaping the way we live, work, and invest in multifamily communities. Whether you're a property manager, a tech entrepreneur, an executive, or even simply curious about the future of living spaces, PropTech Pulse is your weekly dose of insights and inspiration. So let's sync our rhythms and get on with the show. It's time to take the pulse. Welcome to PropTech Pulse. Today I have Liran with me. Liran, welcome to the show.
Hi, Shelly. Thank you for having me.
I've really been looking forward to this conversation together and so glad it worked out for our schedules. And I think we're going to have a great chat today. Why don't we kick things off and you tell our guests and listeners really kind of what's brought you to this point in your career journey and what you're working on right now.
Amazing. So I'm Liran, right? The CEO, co-founder at Movan AI. I started my journey, my professional journey at 8200, which is the Israeli elite intelligence unit of the IDF. I served there for 3 years as an analyst and also as a team leader. And then I spent, let's say, give or take 9 years in the national intelligence branch of the Israeli government, doing anything that comes with AI, machine learning, big data, large-scale projects across the globe. This is where I got my first tick into data, into big data, unstructured data, and the new magic of AI before it became actually AI. And then I would say like a year later, I said, now it's time to start my own venture, to go all in. And I looked for a traditional industry, with a large market, a big number of potential customers and adopters. And I intentionally looked for slow adopters because I said, it's not about they're afraid from technology. It's not about they're hesitant about adopting. It's more about maybe people didn't understand them correctly and didn't find the right use cases and the right workflows and the right tangible ROI. So I started looking for banking and healthcare and ESG in some of the cases. And then I've hit real estate. And then I remember the first conversation that I had throughout the validation process, like ideation, validation of actually understanding what kind of problem you want to tackle. And I had a conversation with the CEO of Prisma Capital. His name is Roy. It was, I think, 2.5 years ago. And I said, look, I'm a data guy. I like doing stuff with AI and machine learning and big data. And I like real estate. You come from multifamily. Do you think that there's any kind of a legitimate, pain point for us to tackle? And he said, Liran, I have this team over and in my back office. I call them asset managers. And this was the first time I've heard the term asset management. And he said, these guys are super smart, super intelligent, very ambitious, right? They wanna actually drive results and drive NOI. Now I know what the term NOI really means. But he said they are buried under this mass number of spreadsheets, Excel files, notes and stuff. And he said, I don't know, to me, as the CEO of the company, it doesn't make sense. I have this super talented group of people that their impact on the company and my performance is incredible. And yet they are burnt out, frustrated. They're not putting the efforts where they should be putting those. And there must be a solution. That's what he said. He said there must be a solution. And I remember myself saying, look, if this is the case, if this guy is actually right, then there is a use case for us to start a company on. And like the typical Israeli that I am, I went ahead and I created like a bunch of messages on LinkedIn And I wrote like multifamily, asset management, regional management, stuff like that. And I started sending out messages and I said, hi, my name is Liran. I'm from Israel. I heard there is a problem in this intersection of reporting, asset management, overview of performance, stuff. Would you be happy to just to have a conversation with me to understand where you're coming from? And I saw that immediately people actually resonate. They said, look, I know you don't have a product, but I want to share with you my story. I want to explain why you're actually going after an actual problem. So I think we had, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 conversations like those from anywhere across the US in multifamily. And we saw that the same pain point kept on going. And it wasn't a professional one. I think it was an emotional one.
Wow.
You saw people that are coming with, investment banking, MBAs,
Yes.
sharp individuals that could be doing anything with their lives, like actually anything.
Yeah.
You know, private equity, maybe VC, I don't know, large accounting firms. And they chose to come to multifamily because they were promised by their bosses, in a sense, that this is the place that they will have the biggest influence, the biggest impact. They said, we're now hiring you as asset managers or as regional managers or as something in between. And you'll be responsible to drive NOI, to drive performance, to optimize our revenue, to optimize our strategies in a sense. But instead, they sat down in their office for the second day at job, and they got the Monday report, the weekly report, the variance analysis one, the investor report. And all of a sudden, they're like, instead of us actually driving results and thinking ahead of what's right for the company, what's right for the portfolio, what's right for our investors, we've become some kind of a machine that copies numbers from side to side. And and I said this anomaly of super intelligent people doing this tedious, repetitive, annoying job that just it doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense to me because if you would say the lack of the ability to perform, it's not their job, it's not their they should be doing, then that's by all means. But you see the potential and you're like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. That's what I'm saying. It's an emotional thing rather than a super professional use case to tackle. Fast forward 2 years ahead, we've raised almost $5 million in funding, top tier VCs. Our chairman of the board is the actual inventor of the USB stick, the flash drive.
Awesome. I love those.
He's like the guru of VC and tech. And we also have a few really good multifamily GPs and management companies on our cap table that actually joined our journey very early in the process. And yeah, it's been a fun ride, super exciting, super emotional.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we are today.
I love, I always say that the multifamily industry has a certain level of pain that it's used to, like the Depeche Mode song, give me a pain that I'm used to. And I think in asset management, that pain is you enter asset management and your first couple of years is this hazing of spreadsheet junkieville, and you're working, you come in at 6 a.m. and you leave at 10 o'clock at night, and you're in this environment. And you're right, they're MBA people a lot of times. One of my clients only hires MBAs, and they come out of MBA school to go sit and take all of that investment and their amazing strategic brains, these analyst brains that they have, and you're going to have them pulling Excel spreadsheets. Like, not a high value use of time and really not a job to love.
And if you wanna and you do want to maintain these guys and you want to promote them within the company, then the odds are pretty much against you, because as you said, they have other options. Like they can do other things with their lives, and they choose to spend their time with you because they believe in the cause, they believe in the company, they believe in you maybe as a manager, they believe in something. But this anomaly of the gap between what they're supposed to be doing and the ROI you should be getting from them versus the day to day is absurd. It's an actual absurd.
And so on that note, and I always get into this kind of question, how are you transforming that horrible day's work with how does that change the way that asset managers work from day to day when they start to have something different to work with?
Yeah. So if you think of it from the tech perspective, the biggest generational shift that we had over the past 2 or 3 years, I think, is Gen AI, generative AI, right? The ability to train large language models on specific vertical data sets, private ones or public ones, but specific ones with the nuances, with the workflows, with the lingo, with the lexicon and the jargon, to really think like your persona that you're trying to behave like. So what we've done over the past two years, in a sense, is to take the use case of, I would say, the intersection of asset management and regional management, anyone who's doing this overseeing of multiple properties all at once. And we said, let's take all of the different PMSs in this market, the big ones, right, that control, let's say, 95% of the market, plus the spreadsheet data, the local environment data that our customers are saving. And let's train our model on those data sets that will actually understand not just multifamily and real estate, but also the workflows of asset management and regional management. In a sense of, it's not just what are you asking the AI to do, it's also about why are you asking it to do it? What's the actual logic behind the scenes? So the product itself, right, is a platform that I think that could be divided into 3 segments of value proposition.
Okay.
One, we integrate with our customers' data. As I said, it could be their spreadsheets and the PMS data, and we create like a seamless infrastructure of AI that sits on top of them. Now, I think, and it's a very unpopular opinion to have, that not all spreadsheets are meant to die. Not all of them.
No, I agree, actually. Yeah.
Some of them are super optimized. Some of them, 25, 30 people over the years took care of them. But the pain point is not reading the report of the spreadsheet. It's about updating them. It's about manipulating the data in a sense that it is actually readable and analyzable. So what we do is we say, look, if you have some of your spreadsheets that you think that the time it takes you to update them on a weekly, daily, monthly basis is a pain point, we can adjust and adopt our AI to fit into your existing workflow. So you have your Monday report that you want us to update based on the PMS and the other sources that you're using. By all means, if you have the variance report, by all means, you have the investor, whatever. You have those reports that you want to support, we will do it for you. So instead of you copying numbers from side to side, the AI will do it for you. You will create like some kind of a dictionary behind the scenes that tells the AI, this is, Shelly's report, and this column should be taken from this side, this tab should be taken from this side, and that's the actual purpose behind the scenes. So that's first. And then super tangible ROI, you would see folks that were used to, spending 6, 7, 8 hours a week copying numbers. That's gone. That's gone.
Wow.
So this is the first value proposition. And then we say, look, with the time that we've just saved you, now it's time to be proactive. Now it's actually time for you to have the job you deserve to have. So we have two engines of AI. One is the proactive engine, which we call insights, that looks across any kind of data point that you have and trying to find anomalies for the good and the worse. Anomalies in a sense of budget versus actuals, pro forma versus actuals, swings of time over time, quarter over quarter, month over month, whatever you want to see, from up here to the specific line item within the T12 or within the expense report or within the rent roll. So it would say, hey, this behavior doesn't make sense. 3 months ago, you were spending on OpEx $200 on something. Now it's $250, but the consumption hasn't changed. So someone is overpricing you for sure. That's one of the options. Or let's give an example of, you thought, based on your pro forma or based on your budget, that 6 months into the asset management process, you would be at 95% occupancy. But now you're at 92% or 85%. And then we say it's not just that you're missing your target, it's also about those are the specific units within this property or within your portfolio that are now vacant for the longest periods of time. So now when you have this conversation with the lease-up manager, it's not just, hey, we have to hit 95% occupancy. It's, why are those units empty? Why are those unit types are vacant more than the other unit types we have within the same property? Like something is up. So it's a very straightforward engine that keeps you on track. That's for I would say the anomaly detection, the discrepancies, to make sure that it's like a sidekick that sits with you at office and navigates throughout the journey of asset or regional management to tell you what's going not as planned. The flip side of it would be optimization opportunities. For example, it would say, hey, we see that 85% of the tenants within unit type 3-bed, 1-bath in this specific property over the past 5 years that renew their leases at least 4 times, 4 out of the 5 times, have also asked for additional amenities. They've asked for pad fees. They've asked for laundry services. They've asked for parking. They've asked for storage. So now you're like, okay, maybe when another prospect is showing up at the tour, and he is looking for a 3-bed, 1-bath unit within this property, we should be creating a bundle that says maybe you get a discounted rent, but you get the amenities in place, because we know that the demand is really there. Yeah. So you can optimize on revenue streams that are pretty much left untouched. And then this is a very, again, tangible ROI in terms of NOI. Another option would be, hey, we see that out of the 20 leases that are about to expire the next month, 3 of them are performing not as planned. We see high loss to lease, we see high delinquency, low collection, and also high expenses on maintenance. So maybe it makes sense for you to keep those units aside, renovate them in something over the next 3-4 weeks, even more, and then bring them back to the market at a higher price, because now you're actually losing money on them. You're losing money. It's not where you're supposed to be in this property. So again, we're optimizing them. This is the insights. Those are the insights.
I love that. And I love the way that you're rethinking work for it. The relationship between, and I was a regional property manager at one point in my career, and the relationship with asset management is so important. But I think about how many times the work that you're doing is stopped to firefight for asset management because you don't have something on hand. And then you're dialing up the property and you're trying to find the information. And you might even have business intelligence, but you can't readily get to those insights. So the fact that you're transforming the analyst role for asset management and creating efficiency so they can focus on meaningful work and then also partnering across the regional manager so they can both make better decisions so that property can really perform better. Everybody's in compressed NOI right now. I don't know a single client or conversation where they're not looking for efficiencies, looking for money, looking for savings, looking for revenue. I think that's really powerful.
And I also think that the conversation, if you look at the Monday meeting agenda, right? It's always about, okay, we're at 3% delinquency, collection is 95, occupancy is something, whatever. But then no one stops and thinks like, what should we do with it? Like, what's the next step?
Yeah.
So you've mentioned BI, right? The biggest disadvantage of BI, it's there's no context to it. You would see occupancy is going up, going down, another up, and then what? Like what am I as a regional or as an asset manager? What am I supposed to be doing with this data? Like I'm seeing the drops, I'm seeing the swings, but then what? What we try to do is to focus those conversations on the solution. So it's not just, hey, we're missing our budgeted occupancy target. It's mostly about those are the units or those are the unit types that we should be dealing with to minimize or mitigate this gap. And then everyone is actually aligned with in terms of processes, in terms of targets, in terms of what should be done next.
Yeah.
And then we have our own AI agent that we call Lori. That's the first, I would say, personal analyst for asset managers and regional managers. Again, specifically trained on multifamily data. And with Lori, we do essentially two major things. One is to communicate across any kind of data point, natural language speaking. You can ask Lori questions and to get informed answers. But you can also create your own reports out of just communicating with the AI. And then instead of saying, hey, I would copy this number from the PMS and this number from the comps and this number from the other spreadsheet, you can go ahead and say to Lori, I need a weekly report that contains of NOI, delinquency, collection, trade-outs, and turnovers for this property. Please send it to me every Monday at 9 a.m. when it's up to date. And you will get like an Excel file that actually contains all of those data points. And then you can actually close the loop. Now, if we think ahead, the next step would be actually collaborating with Lori throughout the conversations of regionals and asset managers.
Yeah.
So instead of just having this conversation like Liran and Shelly, we will have this AI agent sits in between, and we will be able to ask Lori questions like in between. Instead of Shelly would say, hey, what about this task that we've done in the past 3 months? Lori will tell you, hey, this is what's up. And if you think of it, it's such of a stress relief, because some of the management companies that are using us, we started the company saying, okay, we will sell to asset managers, to GPs, vertically integrated companies. And then when we faced the third-party management use case, we said, look, this is an optimization tool, efficiency, as you said. But what they've told us is that they said, look, we might be able to gain, to provide access to our owners. And then instead of calling the on-site management team or the regional and asking, hey, how many times did you paint this apartment? How much are we spending on CapEx? What's the average trade-out that we have? We can now give them access to real-life data, real-time data, and they can ask the AI the same questions that they were supposed to be asking us. And then we're reducing a lot of the tension between those sides, regionals and asset managers, regionals and owners, and internally. We're saving insane amount of time for both sides of the equation. And most importantly, we show and we demonstrate transparency.
Transparency is hugely not provided. over the years. It's hard to do, and I think you're really hitting home. I can think of even like the use case of preparing for a property executive walk with Lori, and what areas should I focus on? What are the areas of opportunity? What should I bring forward? It's the prompt, the prompt engineering, I think, could be the learning curve right now for the industry, especially for those that haven't yet started to harness simple applications like Claude or Chat GPT or Grok. You can prompt these things in ways that really make a difference. I think that's huge. I love this. Love this use case.
What's funny? Because we track all of our customers, interactions with the AI. What I'm seeing over the past few months is that people are emotionally attached to the AI. Like you would think that, if they got a good answer, they would just move ahead, or if they got a bad answer, they would just move ahead. But you're seeing like comments like, "Wow, Lori, this is amazing. Thank you so much."
Thank you.
I was like, "What? Like, why?" Or in other cases, it would be like, "But Lori, we talked about it yesterday." Like almost like, "Hey, we had this conversation, young boy."
Totally. Yeah.
And you see that people are actually reacting super emotionally. And the anecdote for this, for that, would be when I'm having these conversations with our customers, they're not telling me, "Hey, the AI gave us XYZ." They say, "Lori, she thought XYZ," or "She responded XYZ," right? They're like, she's one of our team members, so she did something. Can you tell Lori to do,
Yeah.
And it's funny in a way, but it's also educating us a lot about the new workflow and the new ecosystem of having AI agents so embedded within our day-to-day processes that you're actually attached to them. You're actually you care about them, because you feel that they care about you.
That's so true. And transforming the way that people work, especially in urban areas, like people commute. Real estate's one of those places you still really do have to go visit it, and you do, even if you're not going in every day, if you're not a site team member. You've got long commutes, you're working long hours. Attracting a high level caliber of talent into multifamily operations is getting harder and harder to do. I can see this really changing the way that I used to work as a regional property manager or director of operations. And this to me is game changing. So I love Lori already, and I haven't met her.
When we started the company, a lot of the concerns that we faced from the VC ecosystem were about, again, slow adopting, industry, very traditional behaving human beings and stuff. And I said, there's such a generational shift in the workforce that actually builds multifamily. Because 10 years ago or 5 years ago, you would see people that, are, let's say that their experience within multifamily was 20, 25, 30 years of experience.
Yeah.
Super old school individuals that they know their business, they know spreadsheets, they know everything, right? But now you would see the new generation of regional managers and asset managers coming in place. And for them, the default would be using AI, not using AI. In a sense, they're like, "Hey, we're using ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity or all of those tools for our day-to-day needs, regardless of multifamily. Regardless, that's our life, right?"
Yep.
So the anomaly would be, I'm showing up at work, which takes half of my day, if not 80% of my day, and I'm not allowed to use AI within my existing workflows on duty. That's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, if I'm used to be using all of those AI tools for my day-to-day, maybe the biggest part of my day-to-day is work.
Yeah.
So they do not accept this situation of the only place for them to avoid using AI is at work. And they're trying to incorporate and to integrate those tools within their day-to-day, and they almost force this mind shift to happen on their bosses.
This comment, and I love. I was even thinking like the fact that you still can get Excel really lets you cross margin into different generations' comfort of the out. And I think that I'm a Gen Xer. I've been in Excel for forever. I've always hated it and loved it at the same time. But a lot of the ownership groups, leadership, they want Excel. That's what they want. So I think that marrying together the current, the AI, the language learning, Lori, along with the output that gives flexibility cross-generationally to their preference is just a really smart way to go.
As I started by saying that not all spreadsheets are meant to die. Like Excel is a very good software for a lot of use cases. But I'm just saying, if you choose to use Excel, it doesn't mean that you have to have all of the heavy lift until you get to a point of the Excel is actually up and running. And you have to get this privilege of choosing, for this task, I want to use Excel. For this task, I don't want to use Excel. I can have a prompt that will define all of the nuances on a textual narrative. Or I want to see charts. I want to see pictures. I want to see something. It's not necessarily just the Excel. So I think this is the new era of combining new AI tools into existing workflows and not eliminating those workflows, but just enhancing them to a point that you're 10x. That's the point.
What would you say, and I'm going to kind of use this to kind of wrap up our conversation today, what advice would you give to multifamily ownership and operations group that maybe haven't started to tackle integrating AI and solutions like yours? Where would you tell them to start and kind of get over that discomfort and start to embrace this?
That the first and most important thing to start with is to avoid the sexiness. Because AI is super sexy. Everyone is now chasing AI. But if you start by saying, hey, we have to adopt AI, we have to embrace AI, this is the new thing, everyone is using it, without actually refining the use case that you're trying to solve, that's a disaster to be made. A disaster, because you would say, I want to embrace AI, and then you will go all over the place with different use cases, and then you would fail because AI has its own limitations, and the maturity level of some use cases would not be as you expected. And B, as you said, when you prompt something and the prompt engineering process, you have to be super accurate and super on spot. And if you're not, you will have a lot of frustration and a lot of disappointment. So I would say, don't be attracted to the hype. Be attracted to the use case. Be attracted to the problem that you're trying to solve. Define the ROI. Say, I want to save those processes because those processes cost me 20, 30, 50 hours a week for my staff. Now let's go outside of our comfort zone and see what kind of solutions could support us. But not vice versa. Not vice versa. This should be the process. And as long as you stick with this methodology of defining use case after use case after use case and trying to see if AI is the actual answer, then you'll be successful. And newsflash, not all of your use cases are meant to be solved by AI, which is fair.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
Not all of them. Some of them are.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't. But as long as you define it correctly and you try to think of the most optimized outcome and the most tangible ROI that you want to gain from it, then the process and the discussion would be a lot easier, because you would see, I want to invest X amount of dollars to save X amount of hours or to gain X amount of more efficiency, NOI, something. And now let's pick and choose what would bring us there. But that should be the process.
I love that, and really had a great conversation with you today. And I need to meet Lori and miss her in my life, but really appreciate your time. This was solid, and I'm actually really looking forward to watching your evolution and actually watching the industry where it's the perfect time in our industry to transform how we work. And I think you're playing a key part in that for asset managers and regional managers at the very minimum.
I appreciate it, Shelly. And for all of us, for all of the listeners who joined us, look us up, Movan.ai. It's MUVAN.ai. I think we can have fun together. So that's my message.
Love it. Thanks, Liran.
Okay, Shelly.
And that wraps up another episode of PropTech Pulse. I hope this conversation has given you valuable insights and perhaps even sparked some ideas for your own PropTech journey. Remember, the future of multifamily is being written right now with every technological advance and innovative solution. So stay curious, stay connected, and keep your finger on the pulse of PropTech. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to PropTech Pulse on your favorite podcast platform and share this along with your colleagues. You can also find us on social media for bite-sized insights and updates. I'm Shelly Robinson, and until next time, let's keep innovating, disrupting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in PropTech and multifamily. Let's build it together.